From Martine Studios in New York, your trending topic TV show. This is Talking Heads with Nizam.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Talking Heads. I'm your host, Nizam. This is season 2. We're in season 2. Season 2, episode 1, yeah. The DVD is coming out never. My panel is here. We have Jay Dewey, Alicia Lugo, and Kevin Burke. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're going to start with our first topic. Not topic, but our first segment. It is called What Are You Watching? So let's talk about some cool stuff you've watched, you're watching, you're waiting on. Jay, what are you watching?
I just caught the premiere of The Strain on FX, which was kind of cool to see. It really takes a classic story. I almost don't want to say like which classic monster movie it sort of or literature it really redoes, but I thought it was pretty clever to sort of take that, sort of put it into modern context, and make it all about sort of like link it up to all these scares about bird flu, viruses, contagion, all that stuff. So waiting for episode 2.
Yeah, I've seen the commercials for that. It looks crazy.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. The horror shows, like if you consider Supernatural a horror show,
okay, I used to like Supernatural.
I love Supernatural, but that's probably is I tried to do American Horror Story, and I was just it changes like every season. Like,
I'm excited for it.
I can't do that.
I love it. And Bates Motel, I was in Bates Motel for a while.
Oh yeah, I heard that was good too.
Once you miss a couple episodes, you kind of you can't watch until you catch up.
Yeah, Alicia, what about you? What are you watching?
Actually, I have this like simple guilty pleasure. We're watching as a family. We watch the reality show on CBS, Big Brother, is what we've been watching. We just sit back. It's just the 4 of us, my wife and my kids. We just sit back when it comes on and we just watch it. And it's just it's just cool. It's just relaxing. It's something that laid back. What I'm looking forward to seeing is the premiere of the final season of Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, I still haven't gotten into it.
That's a great show.
I still haven't gotten into it.
Every single, there's like teaser commercials. There was a teaser commercial of Jax riding on a motorcycle, and then he transfers to a skull and back to a motorcycle. And my wife watches a show like this. She loves watching it, but she can't help but like cover her eyes when she's watching it. She's like, when's it coming out? So that's the show that I'm anticipating watching big time because it's the final season.
Once it's over, maybe I'll just binge watch it or something.
I've got the DVD.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Are you caught up?
I'm so behind.
You got to get caught up.
I wasn't watching.
I'm not going to say anything.
I know.
I wasn't watching Breaking Bad, and then I jumped on and binge watched, and I caught it. I caught up right around the finale, like right when it was ending. So maybe I'll do something.
Yeah, I've got I think seasons 1, 2, and 3 on DVD at home. And I didn't start it off, and I remember during the last holiday break, I said, you know what, I'm getting caught up.
Yeah.
And I saw 2 seasons over the holiday break.
Oh, wow.
And it's great to see Katie Seagal in a role like that.
It is. It's so different. I mean, it's so completely opposite of the character that she played.
Katie Seagal is Peggy Bundy. If you know. She's Peggy Bundy.
Not Peggy Bundy.
Not Peggy Bundy.
Not even close to Peggy Bundy on this show.
I've seen maybe like an episode or something. Like I tried to get into it and I just couldn't. But, Kevin, what about you? What are you watching?
I'm just looking forward for American Horror Story. Yeah. I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I get a show, that's all I'll watch.
I feel like American Horror Story is so difficult because it changes every season. Like I watched the first season, I thought it was cool, and I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen with these characters? And then the second season came out and it was like Coven or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was one similar character, and I was like, all right, I don't get it.
But I think the fun of it is that they'll take the same actors and actresses and sort of shuffle them around, and they play a different part, and it could be totally different in the next season.
But are they the same person? Like in a different? Like I don't get it.
Completely different. And once you watch it, you don't even think about the character they were in the previous season.
Yeah. I just want to know if that couple, if they stayed together, if they didn't stay together, like the maid, like, did they ever figure out like she was like a ghost or she was really old? Spoiler alert, sorry. But
season 1, it's spoiled already.
I was just kind of like,
DVD.
there were so many unanswered questions for me. I was like, what's going on?
And that's another. See Jessica Lange in roles like that is awesome too.
Yeah, she's clutch though. You put her in anything. She's
good to see her back.
She's good to go. Let's get going. So the state of California has a senator who is trying to separate California and make it into six different states in California. There's legislation that's going like the Senate is they're gonna vote on it soon. Jay, how do you feel about 6 Californias or 6? I don't even know. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that it's just part of a. It's happened before in the history of the United States in terms of wanting to break the state up. I mean, we face it here in New York all the time. They want to, people on Long Island want to, separate from the rest of New York. There's some people upstate that said, let's take, like New York City and Long Island and make them a separate state. So it's not completely unheard of. I think that the way that it sort of started off, where it's coming from, may not come from the best motives, but I think it kind of parallels what you might see in some of the other territories around the world, where there seems to be this current of like, I want to sort of call my own shots. I want to be in charge of my own territory, and it seems like it's a smaller and smaller territory. Mm-hmm. So in one sense, it's not that shocking. Maybe California being one of the biggest states, maybe it would be some kind of benefit, but it doesn't seem like it's quite coming from the right place of coming from like Silicon Valley saying, hey, we don't want to really associate with the rest of
I mean, it does.
guys.
California does span basically the whole West Coast. I mean, maybe if you want to split it in half or something, but like 6 separate states, like it's just crazy. What do you think?
I know that there is, historically speaking, in the 1940s, there was a proposal originally to have the state of Jefferson, which was going to be separate. It was going to take a portion of southern Oregon and a northern portion of California, and that was going to be its own separate state, and it was going to be the state of Jefferson, which never occurred because it occurred right around the same time as D-Day. And not D-Day, I'm sorry, the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And so that never came to fruition. And we do have 2 other instances of states separating. You had West Virginia becoming a separate state from Virginia during the American Civil War.
And that took almost like 60 years to figure out.
Right.
After it
Yes,
happened. That was only splitting a state in
absolutely.
half. Never mind into 6 pieces.
Right.
And you had the state of Maine being separated from Massachusetts with the Missouri Compromise of 1820. So it's happened before. Different reasons completely. I don't know if the Silicon Valley's reason
Different
for
times.
separating themselves is one that most Americans would support.
Right.
It is a huge state. You also have to think about the political ramifications of separating a state like that. What do you do with the electoral votes? How do you divide up the counties? There's a portion of Northern California that would actually be without any state universities. So they would actually find themselves having to pay out-of-state tuition by remaining exactly where they're at in their own state.
It's going to be messy.
Right, and
Terrible idea.
Yep, and water.
Right.
Also, certain areas.
Oh, water
don't have
distribution.
water
I didn't even think about that.
distribution
Wow, yeah.
is another one.
Kevin, what are your thoughts, man?
I think it's a terrible idea. It's just going to create a mess, an absolute mess. And, would it change the number of representatives they get in the House? And would they still kind of be working as one?
They could be reallocated.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They could so a state like Texas, New York, and Florida could actually pick up electoral votes by a division
Oh, wow.
of California.
I didn't think about that either.
They could have their electoral votes
That makes sense, though.
reallocated.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just thinking the whole meandering of the whole thing would just be crazy politically.
My question is, what is the problem they're trying to solve? I mean, there's issues obviously with money and services, but I don't think that's splitting the state into 6
I think
different states
Silicon
is the
Valley just
answer.
wants to, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Silicon Valley just wants to separate itself, right?
Yeah.
They want to do their own thing. Hey, we have all the money. Let's not worry about what's going on in Southern California or Northern California.
Yeah.
It is 3 different states, so you really, I mean, if you're going to divide it, you could divide it up 3 ways.
Yeah.
Someone from Northern California is very radically different
Right.
from someone from Southern California.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's I think it's a daunting task, and I feel like shouldn't our government be doing something else? You know what I'm saying? Like like you said, like what is it really accomplishing? Like, is there a need to go into California and chop it
Probably
up?
not. It sounds like a good publicity stunt.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Get somebody on a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. You
And
know,
there's
like,
constitutional questions attached to it too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Can it constitutionally be done with the way that they're presenting it to be done?
right. It's a daunting task, and the water distribution that's people's lives right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a tough. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's That's
Imagine
something.
having to pay out-of-state tuition.
Taxes.
The out-of-state
Imagine having to
tuition
pay
is
out-of-state tuition,
that's
and you haven't
crazy.
moved anywhere.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, let's move on. So there is a company in Japan that has these robots. They're like robot anchors. They're in a museum and they talk and they do stuff and they're really cool. But what does that say? What does that say about, I guess, humans and robots and I don't know. Talk about it, Kevin. Let's go with you.
I don't think they're cool. I think they're extremely creepy. Did you guys see the video?
Yeah.
So strange. And of course, I'm not shocked, that Japan would be the people to do this out of Tokyo. But they're terribly creepy. And I think, I think the idea is good where it's going, where the science and technology is going. I think it's fascinating. But why does it have to replicate a human being so eerily?
Yeah.
I think there's lack of imagination there. I mean, if you're going to have a robot, I think you should go wild with it and not make it look like a human. I think that's a little more comforting than seeing a replicated human. And of course, there's still glitches. You know? I mean, their mouths weren't really moving. And, but eventually, one day, I'm sure it'll be perfected where you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But eerily creepy.
What are your thoughts, Jay?
Well, I think it goes into that uncanny valley territory where the closer that the robotics get to looking like human, the more creeped out we all are. And I think it's also an interesting question of they're meant to be these news anchors. And it brings up these issues of sort of believability. And, would we accept a robot giving us the evening news? Would we actually believe what the machine is saying to us?
Well, robots do sometimes give us the news.
Well, that's exactly.
It's your cell phone.
Like a Fox News.
I know.
Oh, that's funny.
Here we go.
I like that.
That's another show.
I like that.
Or we get like the weather report. If you turn on the weather channel, it's that little robotic voice. Today's weather, da da da. So that's kind of like a robot, just without the visuals to go behind it. But we sort of accept that. We're like, all right, so the robot weather guy read me the weather. But if it's someone who's meant to be like beaming into your living room at 6 o'clock or whenever, or actually watching the news, even like 11 o'clock. Are you going to believe that this is actually the news? They have done these studies, and these are decades old, about how it used to be that all the male, all the news anchors were men because people didn't believe when a woman told them the news.
Wow.
And obviously we're way past that. But this is sort of the same territory of sort of gets into believability and acceptance.
Alicia, what about you, man?
I have a little different take. I like the human feel of it. I think that's an industry where I watch a personality when I'm watching the news. Willard Scott, up until recently, is still on TV, right? Wasn't he? I don't particularly care for Willard Scott, but there are people who do enjoy that. You have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different news channels on, and they're pretty much giving the same information, different slants, different political slants, but you enjoy the personality. And I don't know if I wouldn't get that personality. This isn't Max Headroom all
people
over
love
again.
watching people they hate, too.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm watching them fall flat on their face. Absolutely. For me, that's an industry that I want to see a human being. I want the human interaction. What are you going to do when there's an accident on 287? You're going to pick the robot up and drag them over to the accident scene.
And as close as they get, as close as they can possibly get to humans, they will never be able to ad-lib. They will never be able to go off the cuff. I hope.
Part of the what happens, not even just an accident, but like a national disaster, an international disaster. What is the robot going to do when it has to read the report saying,
exactly.
something really terrible has happened? Part of it is that we look to these news anchors for a little bit
and then it's obviously
comfort.
Even if they can program it, it's kind of messed up to program false emotions.
Feelings. The robot starts crying.
Somebody programmed you to do that.
Yeah, because there's crocodile tears, like we do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, really, you're really crying right now. But my thing is, technology is just it's always on the cusp of like this weird like line. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a movie with Joaquin Phoenix called Her, where he fell in love with an operating system, and it basically had a personality, and it was like my phone, and it would talk to me, and we'd have conversations and stuff like that. And it's like, that's what this stuff is leaning towards.
But the problem with that is the glitch was in the human. Not
yeah, exactly, yeah. But they have like full body, companions, dolls or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like we're plugging in so much to this stuff. Like, the danger with like a danger may be a dramatic word, but I feel like the danger with some of this technology and some of these things are we're plugging in and we're turning off what's real.
Like
so
Wii bowling rather than
And he said
bowling.
that I read an article.
I'm awesome at Wii bowling.
The guy, me too. The guy in the article said it was like a way to study awareness in humans and some other stuff, whatever he was going on about. And I don't understand why you can't just do that with people.
Just watch a person.
Yeah.
Like it was about like trying to find out more about humans by programming robots to be like humans.
Right. Again,
I think it could be a psychological disorder.
Is this, scientists, is this something that is an urgent need that we,
is there going to be a shortage of newscasters?
Yeah. Let's
exactly. I don't think they're really.
Let's populate the moon. Let's get to Mars. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's build Atlantis or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Let's replace newscasters.
I want the human being.
But I think it's great for Japan. It makes perfect sense. It's just
it makes perfect
quirky.
sense.
And there's a culture.
And there's an audience that might appreciate.
I would appreciate a black anchor. Can we get a black man? Like all the ones I saw, they looked Asian. Everybody's a little bit racist. I'm sorry. But anyway, moving on. All right, Jay, I'm gonna throw this one to you. So marijuana is continually becoming more legal. We have Colorado, and some other states out there, and whether it's recreational or whether it's medical, there's different things going on with it. My question is, or my concern is, these people that are in jail now, what's going to happen to them when, or even right now in Colorado? Like, how do you feel about like the people that are incarcerated, for like an ounce, for like a dime bag or something, and it's like these people out there selling it and smoking it?
It's a really good question, and I'm not sure what the legalities of having, if you could go back and redo those sentences and look at that, but that's certainly a cool question. I mean, I think that marijuana definitely should be decriminalized, but I think it, like alcohol, there should be a lot of like warnings on it, because I personally don't think that it's this totally harmless thing. Just like I don't think that alcohol is totally harmless. Alcohol is legal, but we have parameters on that. So I think that our prisons are we have the largest prison population in the industrialized world. And it's mostly because of the war on drugs, and we're sort of created this system where we're getting everyone in, and they're sort of learning how to commit like bigger crimes. Then we release them, and then they go back to their communities. So decriminalizing, and I think that would go a long way towards addressing the overcrowding in jail population.
So
that we have.
In Colorado, it's fully legal. In Nebraska, medical marijuana is legal. So they're kind of the legislation or the powers that be are kind of looking at it. In Colorado, they're like, maybe we will be a little more lenient with these sentences.
I feel like Colorado's having a new renaissance.
Yeah, they really are. And
crimes down, taxes up,
and the growers in Nebraska. Some of them are having charges brought up on them, and like it's basically ruining their lives. Like, some of them actually have like legislation and police do a walkthrough to make sure that they're complying with what's legal. The thing is, in Colorado and Nebraska is really what I read up on. The thing is, what's legal? As long as the authorities are going under what's legal according to the law. But they don't really necessarily. I haven't found like a specific what it is.
I think I can speak to that a little bit. I think that I believe that what Colorado's doing is they're committing a crime against federal law, because the illegalization, marijuana being illegal, is illegal federally. So what Colorado and Nebraska, New York, and all the other states are doing, they're breaking the law. They're going against federal law. Similar to prohibition,
I didn't understand that. That's what I didn't understand.
It's illegal. Marijuana is illegal in every single state, Colorado included. They might argue that, it's legal here. That's incorrect. They have state laws, but under our system of federalism, federal laws always trump state laws. And the federal government has not declassified marijuana as an illegal drug. The problem is, very similar to prohibition, the federal government doesn't have enough agents or chooses not to
Right.
enforce
Chooses is a
what's
good
going
word,
on.
right.
And this economic boom that is happening in Colorado, in my opinion, is only a result of supply and demand. They're the only people flouting that it's legal. It's not legal. They're breaking federal law. But if marijuana were ever to become legal across the 50 states, their surplus would go down to zero.
And that's what I read. I just couldn't make the distinction. I was like, well, what's the law? I don't think I should go back and reread now. But I don't think federal law is the key. Federal law is the key to that.
Trumps all
because
state
I was
law.
like, well, as long as they fall under the legal, it wasn't making sense to me. But now
it just hasn't been enforced. The same way as prohibition. Prohibition went away because it was too difficult to enforce, because you had a limited number of federal agents to enforce something that everybody wanted to do. So another amendment was passed that repealed prohibition. But marijuana is technically not legal in any state, including California.
That makes sense.
Including Colorado.
Kev, what about you?
I think you bring up a good point with the prohibition, because when they had the prohibition, it almost created, for the short time that it really did create all of a sudden another subculture. Bootleggers and all this other stuff in the 1920s. And, sorry I missed it. It must have been a great time. But same thing, with the reversal of, making marijuana legal, in the first stages is kind of, I think, creating this little subculture in Colorado. I don't know. I do think it should be decriminalized. I don't know.
There's a cost involved, though, too. I think there's a lot of misconception of alcohol and tobacco, because alcohol and tobacco both exponentially cost the federal government a lot more than they make in any kind of tax revenue. So many people say legalize it so that you can tax it, but studies have shown with both tobacco as well as alcohol, the costs of treatment of diseases related to alcohol and tobacco, and the treatment and incarceration, which we were talking about before, regarding alcohol and tobacco far exceeds any money that comes in as a form of revenue. So if the argument is being put out there, well, let's tax it so we can make money off it, that's not true.
I feel like with marijuana, there's not going to be weed smokers out there committing crimes, unless they're stealing food.
Right.
It's medicinal now. So is it good for you? It's not. If it's medicinal, it's not necessarily bad for you, but. I don't know. It's a tough question. I'm just glad that I'm not one of those people in jail, and my boys come in smelling like weed. Like, hey man, when you getting out?
Same thing for someone who's done a lot of time and is out now. You can't
get that back.
You don't get it back.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to this next one, because this one's pretty funny. I want to talk about it. So. There is a Comcast call. A person is trying to cancel their service with Comcast, their cable service, and the call center rep is adamant about keeping this person on, to the point where, and the point in the call, if you guys have heard the call, the point it starts is already 10 minutes into the call, and it goes like another 18 minutes, I think. But I listened to the whole thing, but it's just crazy. Who wants to start on this one? Like, how do you guys feel about these call center reps?
There's a financial incentive, right? There's a financial incentive for that customer service representative if they keep the customer there. I would have hung up on the guy 5 minutes into the phone call. It wouldn't have lasted 20 minutes with me. Yeah, you got to get me somebody else, buddy. This is not working for me. Get me someone else. That's it. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Is how I would have personally handled it. But they're motivated to do whatever they can. Now, was this man, in my opinion, obnoxious? Absolutely. Was he overboard? Absolutely. I think that the person trying to disconnect was a little too passive for my own personality. It would not have lasted 20 minutes.
There was a long time of them just kind of talking over each other, and just he was passive aggressive. Let's say that, because he stayed on the call and he wanted to argue. But
that's a tough job. I mean, that's a job that the Japanese robots should be taking over.
Definitely.
That's what they would be good for.
Yeah.
I feel bad for people that that do that. But I liken it to almost like door-to-door salesman, which I did once. I will never do it again. I don't know how they do it. and they train you to be in these people's faces, to cram whatever it is you're selling down their throat, or not, try to get you to stay with them,
Jay, how you
I have a credit card that I haven't used in years. I have one that I use all the time, one I haven't used. I don't even know what it doesn't have any balance on it, but I haven't canceled it because I'm afraid to call and try to cancel it, because I know it's going to be that scenario of let me transfer you to my manager and we're going to offer you this incentive,
or maybe
blah blah
have
blah.
Japanese robots to do that for us.
Yeah. That'd be good.
I would
Program your robot.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. I don't want this
Right?
company. Could you just take care of this for me?
Yeah.
Talk to
And
my-
it's I know
talk to my robot.
I can handle it, I'm sure, but it's just I know they're gonna transfer me 5 times. They're gonna want to convince me to stay, and just let me just leave that one.
Yeah.
My thing with calling customer service is the automation. Please enter your social security number, and you're like, beep, boop,
And you do
boop.
all that, and you
7
got to
for
talk to
Portuguese.
somebody anyway.
What is your PIN number? 555. I did not
I
hear
just press
that.
0 or I hang up. I'm just hitting give me an operator.
Yeah.
That is an invalid. I don't care. And I hit it again and if I get it, I'm hanging up. Or I'll
Yeah.
scream to the machine. Get me a human being.
Yeah.
I
One moment, please.
I think it's crazy. All right, I have one more segment. I love this segment. This is my favorite segment, so I have to do it. It's Do You Care? So I'm going to rapid fire a couple questions at you guys. Not questions, but topics or person, places, or things. Yes, no. If you feel like you need to explain, you can. If you don't, then don't. It's called Do You Care? So let's start with Rosie and Elizabeth Hasselbeck are back on The View. Or no, Rosie's back on The View. Elizabeth is pissed off about it. Do you care?
No.
No.
Do you care?
Yes and no. I like Rosie.
All right.
I'm a Rosie fan.
Brody Jenner did not go to Kim Ye's wedding. Do you care? He went to Reggie Bush's wedding, but he didn't go to Kim's. Do you care?
I didn't care about it, but when you say it, I do care about it.
Not
Lisa,
even close.
you don't. Come on, man. What do you?
No, don't care.
You don't care about Kim Ye?
No.
Oh, it's terrible. All right. Frozen. Do you care?
You mean
The Disney movie.
the movie, the desserts? Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Haven't seen it.
You have kids, man.
I know. They've seen it. I haven't.
Oh, you have. What about the songs? Let It Go.
That was the only Oscar-nominated movie I saw.
Everyone's told me it's great. I haven't seen it. I would watch it, but not now.
You don't
was
care.
fun.
If my
But
kids
you
watch
care
it, I might
though.
watch it.
You don't care?
No.
Do you care?
I care. It was fun.
All right, whatever. We got to get out of here. Guys, you can check us out Friday nights at 8 p.m. Verizon 45 and Cablevision 76 in the White Plains area. Also, WPCommunityMedia.org. Just look for the Talking Heads, and one of us will be in the little picture. And we'll be back real soon. We'll see you next week.